Hello, good evening. Can we all hear me? Good evening. Can we hear me? Can someone confirm that they can hear me? Hello, please can we hear me? Please confirm that you can hear me. You can react, you can use your reaction button, just to let me know I'm audible. Okay. So welcome to class, everyone. Thank you all for joining. If you can hear me, if you can hear me, welcome to class. Like I said, we are currently in week 3 of the JIIPCC mentorship and internship program. And please, just to remind us that coming early to class is very, very important. Right, it is very, very important and necessary that we come early to class. So just to start, like I said, welcome once again to the tree. My name is Dennis Williams, and I will be your coordinator, or I'll be your moderator in today's session. Uh, okay, so in week 1, we started off by discussing introduction to data privacy and protection. In week 2, we discussed data processing, collection, processing, and transfer. And now we'll be discussing data subject rights. I hope you all are ready for class and ready for the session. We'll soon be having some of our mentors joining in soon. So what we'll be doing is I'll be going through their profile and then just introducing the mentors that we're expecting in today's session. So yes, first and foremost, once again, we are expecting to have Ms. Jadisola in today's session. Please, can someone confirm that they can hear me? I want to be sure so that it's not like I'm speaking to just myself.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, all right. Thank you, Azizat. So, yes, once again, we are expecting in today's class Ms. Jadisola Esong. She has been one of the major contributors to our session in the last 2 weeks. For the last two classes, that is week 1 and week 2. And we look forward to having her in week 3, right, to help us run through data subject rights. Next in today's class, also a mentor who was here last week, that is in the person of Mr. Emmanuel Iwere. Mr. Emmanuel Iwere, also a very key contributor to our sessions and our classes, and we expect to have him join us shortly. Um, Next in today's session, also a new mentor, one of the new mentors we're expecting in class today, Mr. Sorry, I'm a bit under the weather. Sorry about my voice. Mr. Timothy Samson Ayu. So Mr. Ayu is a certified data protection officer, that is a DPO with 4 years experience in data privacy and protection. Of note, he is a senior research assistant and assistant DPO in the VC's office at Moi University. He has served as a full-time DPO. He is skilled in risk management, data privacy and protection, regulatory compliance, data protection training, and guiding data protection impact assessments. Experience in database mitigations, risk management, cross-border data transfer, and delivering tailored data protection training. Well versed in the General Data Protection Regulation and Kenya's Data Protection Act. IUO combines international and local expertise to um, to ensure robust compliance. In addition, he has strengths rather in managing humanitarian data in emergency contexts where privacy safeguards are critical. Member of the IAPP and the GSK in Kenya is a contributor or two of over 35 legal articles to the Daily National newspaper. Thank you, Mr. Timothy, all the way from Kenya. I don't think he's yet here on the call, but we are certain that once he's able to join in, we would be having him share his thoughts with us in the class today. And last but not least, we are also having in class Mrs. Mercy C. Matthew. Also one of our mentors that we had in the first class. Unfortunately, she couldn't join us last week. She was a bit under the weather. But thank you very much, Ma, for joining in today. We are happy to see that you are in class and you are well. Thank you so much, Ma. We welcome you to the session today. And seeing that we have read your profiles previously, I don't think we would want to go through it again. For the mentees, if you want to have access to our information, you can kindly reach out to me and we will just forward her profile to you. Yes, so with that, we say a big thank you and a big welcome to all our mentors that are present in today's class. I see that we're a bit scanty in class today. Please, mentees, do well to reach out to your other co-mentees so that they know that we are in session today. We're in session this evening. Yeah, so yeah, we are going to be starting off like we usually do with our mentors presentation. So then we'll take presentations from mentees. Please, mentees, let's get ready for presentation. Let's get ready for presentations. If the presenter is in class, reach out to him or her, whoever the person might be, so that we don't keep calling and calling and calling for your presentation. But like we earlier said, we'll be discussing data subject rights in today's session. And I want to hand over to our mentor who is on the call, and we'll get to hear from her. As other mentors join in, then we would as other mentors join in, would also be getting to hear from them. So for the mentees, please, I would like to kindly ask that if you can you kindly rename yourself? That if you're not using your real name, please rename yourself so that we are able to easily identify you in the session, and if need be, we will be able to call you by name, right? That's if need be. So yes, over to our mentor for today, Mrs. Mercy. Thank you so much once again for joining. Welcome to the session. Please, Ma, we want you to help us, give us a lovely introduction into the session on data subject one. So welcome, Ma.
Okay, thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. I hope our day has been going well so far. Sorry, it's mirroring on another device, so it's echoing. Let me just drop off this. Okay, thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. I will just do my best to get this done in within 10-20 minutes because the topic for today is actually very straightforward. And I think that, over the course of the module so far, the first module, first week, second week, this has already been touched on a bit. I noticed that the attendance is also a bit low. I was wondering if we should wait for people to join in a bit, but it's already 10 minutes past the time. So I think it makes sense to go on. Let me see if I can share my screen. Yes, I can. Share my screen now. Let me know when you can see this.
Yes, Ma, we can see your screen. Thank you.
Please let me know if it stops at any point so that I can fix it. Okay, so the topic for today is data subject rights. from the first week, we had set the foundation as to what exactly is data protection, what is data privacy. For the mentees who were in that class, I'm sure that you would have learned about the difference, the data privacy being in theory and then protection being the practical or the technicalities, the technical part of data privacy. That's the actual measures being put in place with respect to data protection. Um, but this particular class will now be looking at the rights of a data subject. As an individual, you have rights, which is what we refer to as fundamental human rights. We have that enshrined in our chapter 4 of the 1999 Constitution of Nigeria. I mean, for those of us who are Nigerian, right? And then now, when it comes to data privacy, keep in mind that first of all, the right to data privacy is also gotten from the 1999 Constitution, Section 37, which is the right to privacy. That is important to note so that you know that you are not just gleaning this right from somewhere. It's enshrined in the Constitution. It's one of the fundamental rights of a human being, the right to privacy, the right to have your matters private. Now, when it now comes to the privacy and protection, what the NDPA has done, that's the Nigerian Data Protection Act, and also several other, like the GDPR also has that. What these data privacy regulations or laws have done is that it further breaks down the rights to privacy as it applies to an individual. So that goes to say, apart from having the right to privacy, when it comes to that privacy, what are the subset of rights that I will have? And that's what we'll be looking at today. All right. So the right of a data subject under the NDPA, we have first of all the right to be informed. This right comes, by way of what we call a privacy policy. In the NDPA says that a data subject has the right, every company should have a privacy policy, and then it goes ahead to state what should be in the privacy policy. You see, so a data subject, and I'm sure we understand when we say data subject, because that has been defined in previous classes, is any identifiable individual, right? The person who is subject of the information that you are holding. So if you're, organizing an event, for example, and I keep on saying JIIPCC is like a data controller because you have information of your mentors, mentees, you see. So all of us are your data subjects, right? Um, there is that right to be informed, whereby if you are collecting as a company, collecting information, or even you in your position as a maybe DPO or a lawyer advising on data privacy, there should be something telling a data subject, this is first of all the information we collect about you. This is the information we have on you. This is what we want to use your information for. These are the people we will be sharing your information with. This is how we are going to process your information. These are the tools that we use in processing your information. If you have any complaints, this is what you should do. Do you see? So a data subject has the right to be informed. Because if they don't know about it, in fact, they even have a right to know about their rights. And they know about that through your privacy policy. So if they are not aware, they can't even now exercise their rights. Apart from being aware of what the law says, most people would not be aware of what the law says, but the law is now telling you that you must inform them as a data controller, a data processor. You must inform your data subjects what you're doing with their personal information. So that's the right to be informed of data processing. As a data subject, I must know in the first place that you're going to use my information, right? If you're going to use information beyond the consent that has been given already, let's say, for example, for banks, right? A customer walks in, opens an account, gives all their information, and then if a bank wants to extend the use of that information beyond the current account to now open maybe a DOM account or open a virtual account, the bank as a data controller must inform the data subject of that intention, the reason why they need to do it, how they are going to do it, if they are going to share that data with any third party to achieve that purpose. You see, all of that. So all of that comes under the right to be informed. Then we talk about the right to request a copy of personal data. This is in essence saying that I, as a data subject, can work to a company that has my personal information, maybe my HMO or my pension. And we've seen this a lot, in a workplace. You're switching workplaces and the current organization you're using is not using the same pension company as the previous one. You can request for your data to be transferred from one organization to, so sorry. can request for your information to be transferred from one pension company to the other pension company. You get that? So that's the right to request. Okay, no. So this
Hello, Ma. Sorry, we cannot hear you anymore. Okay, our sincere apologies.
okay.
She will be
All right.
joining us shortly.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now, Ma.
Okay. I should share my screen again, but or is it still showing?
Yeah, yes, Ma. We can't see your screen. No, it's not showing. We can't see your screen.
I'm doing that now. Okay. So I was talking about the right to request a copy of personal data. Let me know if this is clear. So you have, yes, you have that right to ask a company, a data controller, please give me the information you have on me. I want to know. You get, in a way that also supports like rise to the principle of data accuracy. If you know what information a data controller has about you, it's easier for you to say, oh, this is not correct, or this is no longer current or updated. This information has been changed. I'm no longer living in this location. You get it. So a data subject has the right to request a copy of personal data. Now, right to be forgotten is simply the right to deletion. In essence, it's saying if you no longer want a company to process your data, you want them to forget you, then you have that right to ask them to delete your personal information. Now I know that whenever this issue comes up, especially with respect to companies, most companies are like, but the law requires us to keep this. For example, medical, hospitals for medical really health related institutions, they have certain laws, or even financial institutions as well have certain laws that requires them to keep some kind of information for a specific duration. Now, if you remember when I think it was the first week when they were talking about when the mentors talked about principles of data processing, one of it is lawful basis. There has to be lawful basis, and one of those lawful basis is legal obligation. When it falls under the legal obligation of an entity to maintain certain kind of information, then it can come as a defense to this right. So where a data subject is now saying, oh, I want you to delete my information, a company can say, okay, the law requires us to keep this information for this specific period of time. Then after this, we will now go ahead to delete. You get that? So, that's how when we talk about dialing back to the constitution, you know that not all rights are absolute, right? And even the one that we say is absolute is not absolutely absolute in a sense, right? So in that same way, there are certain ways, there are certain situations where even when a right is requested to be enforced, there can be a reason why it may not be enforced immediately. So in this situation where someone has said, oh, please delete all the information you have about me, and a financial company has maybe, let's say, for example, if their law requires them to keep it for 3 years, to prevent fraud or to be able to track fraudulent transactions and all, and then someone's coming to say, oh, delete, they might want to be careful. If a particular account is the subject of a case, a legal case, a legal claim, they can say, okay, this particular matter is subject of a legal claim. We're unable to delete immediately. But once it is done, once there's a decision or once the matter is closed, we're then able to comply with your request. So please give us time. You see that. But it doesn't take away the fact that a data subject has the right to be forgotten when they request for it. And the NDPA says that that request has to be complied with without undue delay. Now, right to seek rectification is also the right to modification. A data subject has the right to request that his data is corrected, his data be modified. Like that the company, for example, like a reference where someone gave the information when they were single and now they are married, a data subject can go and say, okay, please update my information. My surname has changed. If you're a lady, right? My surname has changed. This is my current name, because you want your information to align across board on your passport, your ID cards, and all of that. You see, or your address has changed. Sometimes location, address impacts on certain things, like maybe where you pay tax, that kind of thing, where your office would pay tax to. So it's important that your information is accurate at every point in time. So if you, the data subject, knows that something has changed in the information, maybe you've exercised your right to request a copy, and now something has changed, you can request a right to rectification. Or even if at the point of collecting the data controller, whoever was collecting, collected wrong, inaccurate information, you have a right to request that the data be corrected. And the data controller is requested to comply with this request without immediate delay. Right to restrict processing or withdraw consent, in essence, is saying you can limit the processing, you can limit the purpose of the processing. Like I mentioned, bank, you've given your information to open bank account. It's very straightforward. Open bank account and maintain the bank account for me with this information. The purpose doesn't extend to opening a DOM account, opening a virtual account. You see that. So in any instance where they say, oh, we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to, process your personal information for this purpose, you can tell them no. I do not want my information to be processed for this purpose. Or maybe they now want to start sending marketing, or they now have an affiliate bank or something, somehow they need to, transfer information. You can say no. I don't want my information to be processed in this manner. So you can give consent to one aspect of processing without the other aspect of processing. In essence, that's what it's saying. Or you can even withdraw consent fully. If I've given you consent before, I no longer want you to process at all. So stop processing. Do you get that? That also goes hand in hand with the right to deletion. So at the point where you're withdrawing consent fully, it is as good as the data controller no longer has a reason to maintain that information. So in line with that, they can go ahead to dispose. Right to data portability, like I was trying to reference before, is where you can ask one controller to transfer your data in a readable format to another organization. Like I mentioned, you're switching companies and then their pension entities are different. You're asking your former pension company to please transfer your data to this new pension company. And they have the right to, they have, the obligation to comply with that request. Now, right to lodge complaints is that you have a right as a data subject. Now, this will apply to everyone here. You have a right to complain to the NDPC if your data is being mishandled or you have grievances. Maybe there's been a data breach that's not being handled properly. You have a right to lay complaints with the NDPC. Now, let me go to the next slide. Because now we just want to look at like a practical case study, right? Chidima, a 28-year-old graphic designer in Lagos, applied for a job at a tech startup called PromTech Limited. As part of the application process, she submitted her CV, her national ID, and biometric data for identity verification. Now, before doing so, PromTech provided her with their what? Privacy notice, explaining what data they were collecting, why they needed it, and how long they would keep it, and who they might share it with. Chidima read the notice and understood. It's very important, because if you are telling a data subject something they don't understand, then it's as good as you didn't inform them. I was listening to, I read of a case recently where the law interpreted a very ambiguous privacy policy to not be transparent. That wasn't, it went against the principle of transparency, because transparency is saying if you are claiming to be transparent, then the people you are being transparent to must understand what you are being transparent about. Do we get that? So she read the notice and she understood. And before collecting her biometric data, PromTech asked her to sign a consent form, and she signed. So that's what we call like a privacy consent notice. Sometimes it may be like that. It's good to document consent. Very critical for data controllers and processors to document consent, so that if any issue comes up as to, oh, I didn't give you consent in the first place, you have proof to show that you read and you said you understood. That's what most companies do with what we call T&Cs these days. Sometimes they have the privacy policy embedded within. Sometimes they have a standalone privacy policy, and then they ask you to consent. A few weeks later, Chidima requested a copy of all the personal data PromTech held about her. The company responded without delay and provided her full data record. Upon reviewing it, Chidima noticed her phone number had been entered incorrectly, and she asked PromTech to correct it, and they promptly updated their records. Chidima later decided not to pursue the job and asked PromTech to delete her data. Since they no longer needed it, they erased her data and confirmed the deletion. When she reapplied for another role, Chidima requested that her data be used only for recruitment purposes, and PromTech complied. She also asked for her application data in a machine readable format so she could share it with another company, and PromTech provided it as a downloadable file. When she began receiving promotional emails, Chidima objected to this use of her data, and PromTech stopped sending them. Finally, Chidima learned that PromTech used AI to screen CVs, as a lot of organizations do these days. She requested that her application be reviewed by a human instead of relying solely on automated decisions, and PromTech honored her request. So I'm going to throw the floor open. In the next 3 minutes, I need the mentees to please unmute and tell me which of the rights you can identify from this case study. You can feel free to raise your hand. So I want to make this as practical as possible. Anyone?
I'm in there.
Okay, Oasis, yes, please.
One of the rights of one of the rights that I identify is the right to be informed of the usage of your data.
Okay, I want you to tie it to the specific part of this case scenario that you're referring to.
Yes. Also, based on the facts you gave, she insisted that her data be used in a specific way. So I feel that is the right
Sorry, say
to be
that again.
informed of her. Based on the facts you give on
Mm-hmm.
this specific case, she she directed the data controller to use her data for a specific purpose. So from my own understanding, she was also informed that okay, fine, that this data will be used for this particular purpose
Okay.
of which she requested.
Okay, I would say you're right, but I would say that you're lumping two different rights into one. You've
Oh,
mentioned the right to be informed. That's correct. You've also given a case scenario that is actually a right, but I want you to also name it properly so that you don't mix the two. They are standalone rights. I know that all of the rights, yes, are intertwined in a certain way, but they are quite distinct. You get that you can violate one without violating the other, and that would still be a problem. So what you've mentioned now, the right to be informed,
Hello, Mark. Can you hear us? Please, can anyone hear me?
yes, I can hear you. Sorry. I don't know
Yeah.
why I keep getting logged in and out. Okay. I'm so sorry, Victor. Oasis was speaking at the time I dropped off, but I'm back now. So I want to hear what Oasis was saying before we move on to Victor. So sorry. Yes, Victor, I note your hand is up.
Okay. I noticed she
Oasis.
requested she asked that her data or the information Comtech had about her to be deleted, and they complied with that. And then also
So,
in that same paragraph, she requested a copy of the information they had on her so she could use that to process another job in another organization. So those are the two rights I picked out.
is it still Oasis that is speaking?
Yes.
Is it Oasis that was speaking before? Because it was a male voice. I'm sorry, you. Pardon me.
It wasn't me before.
Okay, okay. I'm sorry. A male voice was speaking. Was it Victor?
Oh, I think that was Richard.
That was
Richard?
being
Okay.
Richard.
Okay, okay. Richard, please go ahead. I'm so sorry. I was mixing it up. I know Oasis' hand was up, so I just thought maybe you were the same person. Sorry. Okay, Richard. Oasis, I'm coming back to you. Richard, yes, as you were saying.
Okay, okay. The I think right to request that your one data is to be used for a specific purpose in a specific way, and also right to be informed as to how your data is being used.
Yes. So what I want you to do, I want you to, if you say you're identifying the right to be informed, I want you to tie it to a specific part of this scenario that talks
Okay,
about
yeah.
how
So
yeah.
okay, so right to uh, right to request your data be used in a specific way. So Chidinma, based on the scenario at hand, requested that data be used for at some points for only for recruitment purposes. Then also
Mhm.
right to be informed. The data controller also informed that yes, your request has been granted and your data will be used for this specific purpose. So that's
Okay. 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 That's okay. That's closer to it. That's closer to it. Okay. Let me now hear from Oasis. Oasis, yes, you are saying you mentioned two, right? So please help me tie it to this the part of the case scenario you're referring to.
That's on the third paragraph where Ichidema decided later not to pursue the job and asked Comtech to delete her data. Right,
Mm-hmm.
that's the right thing forgotten. And
Great.
she also um, requested for a copy of
Mm-hmm.
she requested that our application data be sent over to her in a machine readable format so she could share it with
Mm-hmm.
another company that she was trying
Okay.
trying out for the
So
application.
what do we call that?
The right to data portability.
Yeah, in a sense, that's well, yes, in a sense, that's also right to access. That is right to request a copy of data, which we call right to access, actually. You're right. You're right. Okay, thank you. Ima Basi. I'm sorry. Okay. Victor, I've not forgotten you. I cannot forget you. Okay,
Yeah,
Ima Basi, you can go and then Victor.
Okay, I want to from the scenario I noticed the right not to be subjected to automated decisions,
Mm-hmm.
and that has to be like the final paragraph where she requested that her application be reviewed by a human instead of relying
Mm-hmm.
solely on an automated decisions
Great.
and prompt
Thank you.
and prompt her. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Victor. Hope they've not said the one you want to say already.
unfortunately not yet. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, we can.
Okay. From the scenario, right? What I can spit out is the right to object. Right to object, which
Yes.
is provided in um, I think Article 17 or something. I'm not sure with GDPR.
You
So
have gone
in the
far.
scenario where Chidima objected to the use of her data, right? And
Mm-hmm.
Hamtech stopped sending it. So where she objected, so that was the right to object there, according to Article
Yeah.
17 GDPR. Yeah.
Yes. 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 What other way can you express this? By that
Okay.
objective, what exactly was she doing?
Okay. She was in a way stating that based on legitimate interest, right? She was halting their activities, halting the activities like processing or proceeding with her data. So based on like legitimate interest of stopping it.
Yeah. Okay, Victor, you're doing professor style. You're taking us to another route now. You're making a legitimate interest. But let's just stick within what we have, right? Because legitimate interest is a whole different thing. Though legitimate interest applies more to the company than the individual. Right? When we talk about the individual, we're not talking about vital interest. Legitimate interest is for the company where for certain reasons they need to process. For legitimate reasons they need to process, so long as that processing does not go against the data subject's right. Right. But what I was, yes, you've also mentioned what I was asking, which is in essence, by objecting to the use of her data for sending promotional emails, she's restricting the processing to say, this is the only thing I want you to use it for. By objecting, you're also in a manner restricting processing to say, you can use it for this, but do not use it for this. Okay? Remember, see, your hand is still up. You want to go again? Thank you, Victor. Dorcas, you're muted. You want to speak?
Yes.
Please go ahead. Dorcas, please go ahead. You're muted. Dorcas, you're muted.
The right to
Okay.
the right to restrict and withdraw consent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when she asked Promtech to give her back her personal data, like to stop when she didn't want to go for the job anymore. So that was the
Yeah.
right to withdraw consent.
Great, great. Thank you. Thank you all so much. Very lovely attempt. Okay, so now let's look at um the right to be informed. We're clapping, yes, we got this. Prompter gives her a privacy notice. Now, Richard, this is what I was trying to say, right? Right to be informed has to come by way of a privacy policy or notice, which then notifies the data subject that this is what and what we are using your information for, right? Then that is where prompter gives her the notice explaining what data they collect and why they collect, who they are sharing with, and all that. Then the right to access, which is right to request a copy of data, is what happens where Chidema says, give me, I need to know what you people have about me, and then prompter provides that information to her. Then we also have the right to rectification, which I said is also right to modification, where she spotted an error in her phone number. And then she said, please correct. You know why this is also critical? If for any reason there's a mistake, in Nigeria, if you change one number, you are calling another line automatically. You change one last digit or one middle digit, you're calling another number automatically. Now, if for any reason a company has to send personal information via text message or through a phone number, then you are sending Chidima's information to another person all entirely. So it's very critical, as little as it may seem, that where you spot an error in your information, be quick to correct it, right? I would even say, for medical purposes, it's even more critical. Somebody, maybe you've done a blood work, they are, instead of writing O positive, they are writing O negative, or AB and AA. That kind of mix up can even be more critical when it comes to issues of life and death. You see, so it's very important where you see that there's an error for you as a data subject, exercise your right to rectification. If you see, maybe you're working as a DPO. I know one of the mentors here is a certified DPO. If you're working as a I'm just using that as an example. I'm not talking to my fellow mentor because he would, I'm sure, be adding to this class. But I'm saying if you're working in a position such as he is, then you also want to, for you, the maintainer, you're looking out for issues like this. Be sure that you also have your company has measures in place to ensure that data subject information are accurate. Right to erasure, where she asks them to delete her data and they comply. Right to restrict processing, where she says, limit it to only recruitment purposes. Outside of recruitment, once you've now finalized recruitment, you need to now reach out again to get proper information about the data subject, right? Then right to data portability, where she asks for her data in a downloadable format to share with another company and they comply. Right to object, she says she doesn't want to receive marketing emails. Prompt should stop and they do that. Then right to object to automated decision making, where she requests for application to be reviewed by human beings only. Thank you all so much. So with that, I come to the end of my parts and the end of my slides. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you so much,
Admin, back
Mrs.
to you.
Presley. Yes, thank you so much, Ma. We really, really enjoyed your discourse in the session and your breakdown of the concepts on the whole data subject rights, identifying the different data subject rights, and also the case study that you brought to just further give us a more practical and logical example into how it applies. So thank you so much once again, man. We sincerely do appreciate. Um, unfortunately, uh, rather unfortunately, our other mentors are currently in the schools. Mrs. Jadisola has an emergency, and our other mentors are not currently, we are unable to get a hold of them at the moment. So we would have Mrs. Mercy on the call helping us just run through what is left of this session. She has already given us an introduction and just overall a breakdown into highlighting the basic concepts. And some of these concepts, we've already started discussing them since week one. So I am sure that for those who have actually been following all the discussions we've been having from week one, you are in no doubt of what data subject rights are, and you see how they align with other principles and what's in terms of practice, collection, processing, how they all apply to those other aspects. But right now we would want to take presentation. I think in today's particular class, unfortunately, rather unfortunately, we'll be only taking presentation from one group, right? From one group. That's group two, and that is because it was only group two that was able to make submission. I don't know, for some reason, group one wasn't able to complete their presentation. So in today's session, we'll be receiving presentation from group two. So if the group presenter for group two is available, we are ready for you. Please kindly go ahead, share your slides, and let's start our presentation. Hopefully, we are able to address everything around our presentation and how we respond to them subsequently after the session.
Sorry, I wanted to say that just so that group one doesn't get off easily, does not escape. Maybe we can still have them work on their slides and share by tomorrow, so that I'm happy to review, look at, make comments where necessary, but so that they are also active and they participate and they have a very good understanding of this particular topic, and just so that they don't go scot free.
Well said, Ma. I will do well to address that. So, group two presenter, let's quickly go back and take your presentation. Let's do that as quick as possible. I think the presenter is Timothy, if I'm not mistaken. Timothy, we are waiting for you. Or if Timothy is indisposed and is unable to speak, can we have any of the other group members step in to handle presentation?
Good evening, sir. I'm just trying to share my screen, please. Just a few minutes. I'm Timothy, by the
Okay.
way.
Yeah, thank you, Timothy. If you're still having any issues with your sharing, can you just give me the go ahead? Let me see if I can try and do that on your behalf.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I can
So
just
give,
proceed with my presentation, right?
so you said?
So I can just proceed with the presentation, that is.
Yes, give me a minute. Let me share the slides.
All right. All right.
So Timothy, can you see my screen?
I can see it now. Thank you.
All right, please go ahead.
All right, thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. I am Dylan Timothy, and I would be representing Group 2, and I would be your presenter for today. Please confirm that we can all hear me, please.
Yes, we can.
All right,
Yes,
thank
we
you.
can hear you, Timothy.
All right, thank you so much. So, from Group 2, our presentation for today is on data subject rights. That is the right to access. We'll be talking primarily on the right to access, the right to rectify, the right to delete personal data, the right to object to the use of personal information, and then the right to restrict processing of.
Sorry, am I audible? I don't think I can hear Timothy. Please, can someone confirm if it's just me?
Good evening. I can't hear him either.
Okay, so I think he's having some challenges with his network. Hopefully he'll be able to join us shortly to continue his presentation. Okay. So while we wait for Timothy to come back, I don't know if there is any backup presenter on the call that can step in until he's able to rejoin, so that we do not spend so much time just around here. Do you have any of the backups from the two?
Hi, good evening.
Speaking, sorry.
So the backup presenters are currently unavailable for now. I'm still trying to get a hold of Timothy, but I think his network is just down. So while we wait for them, I'm the group leader for Group 2, by the way. So I would go on with the presentation in their absence.
All right, Azizat, okay. I don't know if Timothy is back with us right now, but let's wait if he's okay. He has gone back off again. His network is really bad, so maybe you can just proceed.
Hello.
Yes, please go ahead, Azizat.
Oh, okay. So, um, essentially, like Timothy has rightly said, right? and as well as the frameworks for guiding data privacy in Nigeria, and also the socio-economic factors that influences social data subject awareness in data privacy. So you can begin with the next slide, please. So starting off strong with the legal framework of data subject rights in Nigeria. Article of the GDPR.
Hello, can you hear us? Is it only me not hearing that can't hear her?
I can hear you.
Wow,
I think it's her network. I think it's her network.
right. Yeah, the network seems to be so problematic today. Please, Timothy, you can carry on since her network is a bit challenging.
Right, thank you, thank you. I'm sorry for these difficulties today. Okay, so like I had already begun, the frameworks for regulating data protection and data subject rights in Nigeria predominantly are first the Constitution. Then we have the Nigerian data. The Constitution is the ground norm with supreme law regulating, and every law in Nigeria is subject to it. Then we have the Nigerian Data Protection Act 2023, that gives individuals control over how their personal data can be collected, used, stored, um, and be regulated essentially. So just jump right into it. The first right we'll be talking about is right to access. Now the right to access can be found under Article 15 of the General Data Protection Rules regulation, and then this revolves around the right to request personal data and the processing of such data. This also involves how such data can be used, for what purpose this data can be used. Right. I think our last mentor had earlier spoken about this. The next is the right to rectification. So this involves the right to correct or to amend any discrepancy in a person's data. Our mentor just told us give us an illustration about situation in Nigeria where when there is a discrepancy in one digit in a person's phone number, it can result to various issues, especially where it is very, very significant. So the right to rectification entails the right to correct an inaccuracy or an incomplete data, maybe one's date of birth, one's address, contact information, and so on and so forth. The next right to be the right to be forgotten. This entails the right to delete or to erase data from whatever database for specific conditions whatsoever. This can also be found under Article 17 of General Data Protection Regulations. The fourth we'll be having is the right to object. Now, this entails the right to oppose certain types of processing. This primarily is talking about the right to oppose the use of one's data. Say for instance, one's personal information is sought to be used for maybe some publication or whatever. An individual has the right under the Nigerian Data Protection Act and then the General Data Protection Regulations to oppose the use and processing of this data. There's also the right to restrict. This is also establishing what I've just said earlier. This is under Article 18 of General Data Protection Regulations that involves the right to limit how one's data, an individual's data, can be used. The next is right to data portability. This is Article 20 of the GDPR that refers to the transfer of data in a usable format. Our mentor has also spoken about this. Now, this revolves around the right to even process one's data to be transferable. Now, a person possesses the right to refute such processing, and he also possesses the right to approve the processing of their data in a transferable format. There's also the right to lodge a complaint with a supervisory authority. Now, this is under Article 77 of the GDPR. This essentially vests an individual the right to lodge a complaint with the regulatory bodies governing protection of data in regards to a violation of their rights, maybe an unlawful processing of their data, unlawful use of the data, unlawful access to one's personal information. And then the eighth one we'll be talking about is the right to have to an effective judicial remedy against a controller. Now, this is placed as the last because litigation is often seen as the last resort. So essentially, where a person's right has been breached, person's right to privacy has been breached, such individual possesses the right under Article 79 of GDPR to lodge a complaint in court and seek remedy against the controller or processor for violation of this right. Please can Thank you. On next we have the compliance challenges in Nigeria. So Nigeria, Nigeria as a nation possesses a lot of significant challenges, especially when it comes to data protection, data usage. However, the most predominant of this is I will not be following this accordingly. But one thing I think we can all relate to is that the most predominant challenge would have is the lack of infrastructure. So Nigeria essentially lacks sufficient infrastructure to run a database, to run a safe, protected database. Secondly, it's there are legal exceptions. Now, under the right to privacy, there are exceptions constitutionally that would prevent the right to accessing the data. Now, ordinarily, any individual has the right to request or demand access to any information on any database in Nigeria. However, on certain exceptions, such requests may be denied for legal obligations or claims. Next, it will be limited resources, like I've earlier stated. Many organizations lack the manpower and technical tools to run a stable and well protected and compliant database. The next will be poor data management. This also is a springs off from the lack of sufficient resources, revolves around the difficulty locating data across systems and backups, lack of efficient data management. The third would be verification issues. Now, most Nigeria also, because it lacks such sufficient infrastructure, most organizations that may have adopted this new data system occasionally face challenges, especially when it comes to authentication and verification purposes. So identity checks may delay responses because owing to the lack of sufficient infrastructure. Then we have offline data gap. Now, this refers to paper-based records that are often not fully covered. Certain times, informations may be absent, maybe an entry might be missing, and then this can cause a serious issue on a database system. Also have limited public awareness of the Nigeria Data Protection Agency's provisions, Nigeria Protection Act provisions, and then this hinders rights of enforcement. The gross lack of awareness of Nigerians of their rights, essentially, especially their right to privacy, is underlines this particular subject. So the limited public awareness of the Nigeria Protection Act provisions hinders right to enforcement, and individuals may not know when their rights may have been breached. And then there's also weak enforcement due to resource constraints at the NDPC and the Nigeria Information Technology Development Agency. Okay, we also have inconsistent corporate compliance across organizations. Now, 3 months back, the NDPC had slammed a lot of slammed so much fines, a lot of fines on some companies, some data protection, some companies basically that run a database system for lack of compliance with the NDPC's rules. So this is essentially one significant challenge in Nigeria. Then we also have difficulty monitoring Nigerians' vast digital sector because of the insufficiency in its infrastructure. Which one? We also have operational challenges in, oh my God. Please, can you still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you,
We can
Timothy.
hear you.
Right, sorry, please, just a minute. All right. Thank you. I'm back on it. So there's operational challenges in data security, cross-border transfers, and automated processing. This essentially is still the same thing we're speaking about. Because of the insufficiency in infrastructural management, and what have you, cross-border transfers, automated processing would pose challenges in Nigeria, especially to its users, because they also lack sufficient awareness. And then there's inadequate training and sensitization for staff. Now, organizations seeking to jump on the train and then follow up on the data system, where they fail to properly and adequately sensitize their staff and employees on these compliance issues, regulation issues, and how to efficiently run the database. These will pose challenges in Nigeria. And then there's collusion and capacity gaps that persist despite NDPC's audits and fines. Please, let's proceed to the next slide, please. I thank you. So this is cultural and socioeconomic factors influencing data subject rights in Nigeria. Now, moving forward from where we were earlier. So the first is trust in government. Now, citizens in Nigerians have low confidence in authorities handling data, and this leads to reluctance in asserting rights. That's where you see we've spoken about organizations, right? So where you see some applications today, they will require certain, like OP, for example. OP would require, initially OP just required your NIN to be a user of their, or to have an account there. And then subsequently they brought on having your BVN also added to it. Now this is essentially a data system. They are looking to put on your information altogether. But then you see that Nigerians, because they have trust, we call these trust issues now in this on these things. You see that some people will evade, complying fully. Some people will just leave just their NIN. Some might just choose to leave. Maybe they can put, like I myself had issues with uploading my BVN on my OP app, until subsequently I just had to, comply with that. So because of the low confidence in authorities handling data, Nigerians are very, very reluctant to comply with this. And then because of their reluctance in compliance, it also cause issues as to the asserting as to them asserting their rights. So the next is weak regulatory enforcement. Now, limited legal consequences and inconsistent enforcement discourage individuals from pursuing their rights. So basically this means that because Nigeria essentially lacks a weak regulatory enforcement system, even the judicial system where individuals can go to seek redress is essentially weak. And then all these challenges would restrain individuals from pursuing their rights. Going to the backlogs in courts, cases like this can stay for longer years in court and all of that. So it will prevent individuals from pursuing and then enforcing their rights. The next is poverty and economic survival. Now, immediate financial needs take priority over data privacy, reducing citizens' focus on protecting personal information. The mass level of mediocre living in Nigeria is essentially a problem when it comes to data privacy. So people no longer even, it's the saying that people will prefer to eat first. It's only someone that's eating first before that will now worry about trying to protect one information or the other. So that's just a simple example to explain this. The next will be fragmented digital ecosystems. Now, the overlapping mandates of regulators such as NDPC, NITDA, and the NCC creates confusion about enforcement and reporting channels. Essentially, these are the apex regulatory agents bodies for data protection and data usage. Now, where their duties, where their roles and then their obligations overlap, there is a great conflict in the understanding of the layman on what procedure to adopt, on what to comply with. The last on this list will be apathy. So frequent under address privacy breaches, normalize disengagement, limiting practical realization of these rights. Now, where all of these issues, some people say you look something less. So Nigerians essentially do not bother about things like this. Individuals do not bother about things like this. So where these issues remain unaddressed for a long period of time, where these privacy breaches are just swept under the carpet and then normalized, it causes disengagement, it causes leads to limiting practical realization of this right. Next slide, please. So we have significant case studies to further elaborate our point. However, I'll just be taking a few of them. Okay, so data subject rights are legally enforceable entitlements that give individuals control over how their personal data is collected, processed, stored, and shared. And then under the NDPA, these rights are not optional. They impose strict obligations on data controllers and processors. We can look up section 34 to 38 of the NDPA and also section 37 of the Constitution of the Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended. That's the primary regulatory body for rights and obligations of citizens in Nigeria. So the legal framework for enforcement of data and subject rights in Nigeria is statutorily the NDPA 2023, then the right to privacy section 37 of the Constitution, regulatory oversight of the NDPC, and then judicial interpretation of courts expanding privacy jurisprudence. Next slide, please. So yes, we have about 7 case studies here. I'll be taking 2 at random. So I'll just be taking both of them before me. So the first is unlawful direct marketing. So you have the case of Akosa versus Eat and Go Limited, also known as Domino's Pizza. So in this case, a customer purchased goods and provided their phone number, and then they continue to receive unsolicited promotional messages without an express consent, without consent. Now, the court identified violations of their rights to be informed, their rights to object, and then their rights to erasure of their data. So, as a remedy, the court awarded 3 million naira damages, ordered deletion of personal data, and issued injunction against further contact. The second case study will be the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission versus Meta Platforms, where data was collected and shared across platforms, privacy terms imposed without meaningful consent, and then Nigerian users treated differently from other jurisdictions. So, due to the lack of valid consent, exploitative data practices, and violations of fairness, the court ordered 220 million naira fine imposed, compliance directives issued, and tribunal upheld the enforcement. So essentially, these are the 2 cases we're looking at here, among so many others. If we were paying attention to what I've explained earlier on the rights of on data subject rights, you see that your right to erasure, your right to erasure, your right to amendment, your right to even the express consent to receive information are predominantly your rights as a data subject. And then where such data is misused, like I mentioned, I think it was our 8th right that I mentioned, an individual possesses the right to seek remedy in court. So future trends and prospects for strengthening data subject rights in Nigeria. So number 1, we have stronger implementation of the NDPA 2023. Now this introduces a comprehensive framework and expands rights like access, rectification, erasure, and portability. We can check Article 17, 18, 20, 21, 22, 23 of the GDPR. Then there's also increased regulatory enforcement by the Nigerian Data Protection Commission. So, one of the challenges we spoke about was weak regulatory enforcement. So now, future trends and prospects for strengthening data subject rights in Nigeria is that NDPC will enforce compliance through investigations, directives, and sanctions against defaulting organizations that fail to comply with these specified regulations. So, there's also the development of subsidiary regulations and implementation directives, one of which is the GDPR itself. So we have the GIAD 2025 that clarifies obligations and ensures standardized compliance and handling of data subject requests. Essentially, this just means that though it's subsidiary, a stronger regulation has to be brought up so that they can enforce and ensure that there is standardization and strict compliance with the handling of data subject requests. So then there's also the transition to rights enforcement era. Now, this is a shift from the mere compliance to active enforcement with increased investigations and rising legal claims. Put together, all of these trends are just looking forward to having a stronger data subject era, where it is now data subject centric, and then that these data controllers, data processors no longer are at liberty to use data as they please, and then will get away with such violations. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, so there's clearer and more stringent rules. I've mentioned the JIID. So this provides binding guidance, making it easier to hold data controllers and processors accountable. We mentioned this earlier. There's stronger interagency collaboration, where the NDPC collaborates with regulators like the NCC to strengthen data governance across various sectors. We also have building a trustworthy digital economy for national growth. Now, data, essentially, tech is the future. Tech is here. Tech is going to stay. And so data protection builds trust. It encourages innovation, inclusion, and economic growth. We cannot keep having a situation where the information of individuals just keeps getting leaked out indiscriminately. If we want to have a future where youth in Nigeria, where innovation becomes the future of Nigeria, where growth becomes the order of the day in Nigeria, we must have a strong and stable data regulatory framework. Next slide, please. So we also have focus on emerging technologies, regulatory attention on AI, blockchain, and 5G to prevent future privacy risks. We have growing economic and professional ecosystem, refers to the expansion of data protection industry and professional strengthening enforcement capacity. Then a growing judicial recognition and capacity. Courts increasingly recognize and enforce data rights, awarding damages and supporting redress mechanisms. Now, like I've earlier stated, if Nigeria desires to have a future where innovation becomes the order of the day, and then a transition towards blockchain technology, AI and tech, 5G systems, we must have, it behoves on us to have a stable and properly efficient data regulatory system. Next slide, please. So in conclusion, data subject rights guarantee control over personal data, access to personal information, correction of inaccurate data, and deletion of data. This topic essentially is more of an enlightenment program, in my own words. It's spoken about the absence of enlightenment, absence of awareness in the general public. So data subject rights involves your control over your personal data, involves your access to your personal information, involves the right to correcting an inaccurate data, and then deletion of your data if you so please for specific reasons. So put together all we've said, data subject has these rights, and then where these rights are violated, you are lawfully entitled to seek redress in any court or any tribunal in Nigeria, as long as that court is vested with sufficient jurisdiction. Thank you. And then this brings me to the end of my presentation for today.
Thank you, Timothy. Thank you, Timothy, for running us through your presentation. Well done to you and to your team for putting it together. We sincerely appreciate the effort it took to get your presentation done. So well done once again. We'll be heading back, or we'll be reverting back to our mentor, Mrs. Mercy. You had the presentation from the two. We would like for you to share your thoughts with us on what you thought about the presentation. Are there feedbacks you would have for the mentees on what you feel like they need to do better?
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you to Group 2 for the presentation. Um, I'd rather say it was thorough. It was very thorough. I liked the insight on the challenges, the cultural and social challenges, being faced. I like when you mentioned, the issue about practicality of enforcement, not having the technical measures to really implement this right. Right. That's a good consideration. It's good for you to also know what are the challenges to helping a data subject exercise their rights. Because if a data subject has rights that cannot be enforced, and really enforcement or exercising these rights is really within the ambit of the data controller and the processors, I cannot by myself exercise the rights to access. I need the data controller to comply with me on that right, you see. So if I'm just asking, no, I need to know what you have on me, but the data controller, the data handler is not able to provide me that information, then you can see there's a lacuna in the society as to how that right can be fully exercised. So I really liked the consideration. I really liked, you going out of your way to just look at, oh, these are the rights, but also considering what are the challenges and, how can they now be mitigated to help a data subject truly exercise their rights. So I'll say very big well done to group two. I don't have any comments. You were able to really touch on everything, the rights, and then all the other things you included in your presentation. Very well done. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much, Mark, for your feedback. We really, really do appreciate. So, well, we have come to that point where we can now take questions, and that's what we'll be doing right now. If there are any questions for our mentor for today, once again, we sincerely apologize about the unavailability of our other mentors. Um, very, very engaging. This period is very, very engaging for some of our mentors, so please, we sincerely apologize on their behalf, and they send out their greetings. So please, for the mentees, if you have any questions you would like to ask, please go ahead, raise up your hand. You know the drill, raise up your hands or send your question into the chat box and we'll be reading them. Right. So yes, go ahead. Let's take questions. Does anyone have a question they would like to ask? Do we have questions in class? I expect that we should. Okay. All right. So in the absence of any questions from the mentees, please, I would like to kindly request that we turn on our videos for a quick picture, and then we'll round up and call it a day. All right. So please, if you can, let's quickly turn on our videos and then let's take our pictures. Thank you, Matayo. Please, can we have more people? Can we have more people turn on their videos? I guess it's not too late. Some of us still have lighting, sufficient lighting in our backgrounds. So thank you, Timothy. Thank you, Janet. I can see some others are still coming on their videos. Azizat, thank you. Inisoma, thank you. Alright, so we'll be doing that shortly in a minute or so. Okay, yes. Okay, I still see one more person turning on their video, so let me just take another batch of pictures. Okay. Yeah, so we are done with that. Thank you everyone for making it to class today. Even though we did not spend so much time in this session, I really, really do hope that we're able to grasp everything that was said from the mentor's presentation. She highlighting what the data subjects rights are, also her showing us in practical how those rights interrelate, and also where they can be used practically, and also within the presentation where the presenter was able to highlight challenges, was able to highlight innovations, what we can do better, and how we can strengthen, data subject rights awareness in Nigeria. I really hope, these are knowledge that we'll be keeping up to date with because, well, fortunately, these are things that really happen within everyday life. For instance, like Mrs. Bessie rightly pointed out, you have your information here with us. We are controllers within that sense. That is JIIPCC. You are our data subjects, right? You are our data subject, and you have your rights as regards the information we have on you. Learn to see within that perspective of the number of places, your churches, your different organizations where you have your informations and how that really affects you on a day-to-day basis. The need for privacy, the need to have your information protected. And literally overall, we find out that we are a lot more better within the sense of just the overall protection that comes with knowing that your data is safe and secure and nobody is using your data for purposes that it is not intended for. Once again, a big thank you to our mentor for running us through today's class. We sincerely do appreciate the time and effort you put into making your presentation and also helping us run through the session. Please, for the mentees, take cues from our mentors. Besides just the process of coming to speak, they do take out their time to make presentations, highlight, give us engaging issues that are going on in the society, things that informations you will not necessarily find just anywhere. So please let it just be a driving force for us to do better, to ask questions. These things make us better. They make us more better practitioner, and they also make us overall better informed. Right. With that, I think we can draw a curtain on class. Please do not forget to fill in your attendance, share what you have learned on your different social media platforms, and yes, see you all in the next class. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and goodbye, everyone.